The sexual instinct is the most powerful of all human instincts, and civilization itself is built upon its repression and redirection. Sigmund Freud. In this crazy world, is there anything more controversial and powerful than religion and politics? Yes, and by far. Sex is the debate of the 21st century. People are constantly and passionately, in heat, debating sex with religious fervor regarding its monumental impact on human health, wealth, relationships, and its profound impact on the culture. Today, in 2025, people are debating why even get married, as we see an explosion in the pickup artist movement. Billions of dollars being spent on trainings, boot camps, books, courses, education is everywhere. And is it morphing men into Machiavellian narcissists, seducers, or properly confident and socialized individuals and upstanding men? You see, sex rules the minds of men and women, therefore it rules the world. Sex force created all humanity, and now more than ever, it's being used in unprecedented ways with technology to manipulate people's minds, money, hearts, energy, and decisions. Thanks to the internet and the sexual revolution and pornographic philosophy, we see the rise of the prolific OnlyFans girls making full-time livings, even $50,000 a month, with their boobs. Is their philosophy true that it's a great service to humanity to make men feel good? Or is it the most enormous waste of human energy, time, and potential being dumped down the drain? We see the rise of pornographic addictions and pastimes that men and women are not only engaging in, but promoting as healthy. So is watching maximum hours and volumes of porn, aka gooning, on Pornhub a stress-relieving and harmless activity, like so many proclaim? Or is it the promotion of self-delusion bias and confirmation bias, leading to vast graveyards of human potential? But wait, even the right side of conservative politics is being impacted, despite what they proclaim to value. Even pastors are affected. The religious leaders of America. Barna found that majority of pastors, 86%, feel porn use is common among other Christian pastors. It's not me, it's those other pastors. So this isn't just a matter of opinion and values. No matter what you believe or proclaim, porn and sex is a widespread cultural epidemic that is affecting everyone. Hookup culture has spread through America like a wildfire. Condoms are flying off the racks at CVS, and STI medication is charging the herpes hordes. Onwards! Even teens are getting knocked up, more than ever before. Does that mean more orphans and abortions? You see gold diggers and sugar daddies popping up from the boroughs galore, from the prairies to the mountains. Is it stealing and starving the average man of opportunities for love? Men are absolutely raging about hypergamy, the shallowness of women nowadays, and swiping desperately without even one match on Tinder. So are the non-alpha men being abandoned because of shallow women and the buff chads tyrannizing them? And what's happening with all these thousands of men going their own way, running away from home with their backpack of money and self-help books, taking the red pill, their black pills, blue pills, some are taking rainbow pills. Wait, which pill is the right pill? What are even all these pills? And suddenly, out of nowhere, the NoFap movement strikes back against the rise of the porn titans in 2011 with their 350,000 bodybuilding fapstronauts, leading a societal charge against widespread porn use across the continent, storming through the wastelands of lost gains, inspiring the youth of America to clean up and bulk up, claiming a 147% increase in testosterone within just a week of abstinence. And they're rising still with a force of tribal militarism. There are so many sects, no pun, tribes and views on sex and porn. How does a man understand this wonderful and wickedly powerful force? With all the debate, what do the wisest minds of all time say how sex affects your health, energy, decisions, relationships, mental health, money? What do the wisest philosophers say about how to integrate it into your life in the quest to become a vital man who is capable of living a rich life? We can't escape these topics and questions. The force of sex compels us all. Sex, the real debate of the 21st century. So, how does the use of your sexual energy affect your health? And what can you do about it in your personal life right now to prevent a disastrous loss of vitality? And how do you start gaining back your vitality? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look at what the wisest men's minds and philosophers in the world say about it before we get ahead of ourselves. Sigmund Freud said, "A man's character is largely determined by how he resolves the struggle between his sexual desires and society's constraints." He also said, "The sexual life of adult women is a problem which has never been solved. The grandeur of their soul is limited by the tension of their biological needs." He also said, "It's impossible to ignore the extent to which human behavior is influenced by the sexual instinct." Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most acclaimed philosophers in the world, said, "Sexuality is the most important source of creativity." Carl Jung said, "The sexual instinct is one of the most profound forces that shapes the psyche." Dr. David Buss, one of the foremost experts on human behavior, says, "Sexual selection has shaped the human mind profoundly, influencing everything from ambition to risk-taking and even the arts and creativity." And then let's look over at the East. What do the Eastern sages say? We look at the ancient Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching. He says, "When desires are not restrained, they rule the mind. And when the mind is ruled, a man loses his way. Master your essence and master life itself." The Buddha said, "Desire is the root of suffering. The wise do not seek fulfillment in the transient pleasures of the flesh, but in the boundless peace of the mind." Confucius said, "He who indulges in lust weakens his will. He who is ruled by pleasure loses his virtue. A strong man governs his desire. A weak man is governed by them." Plato said, "Love and desire, when ungoverned, lead men to folly, but when directed towards higher pursuits, they elevate the soul to greatness." Jesus Christ said, "Whoever looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart." Mantak Chia, proponent of the Tao, says, "Sexual energy is life force energy. When conserved and transmuted, it fuels creativity, vitality, and enlightenment. When wasted, it leads to weakness and decay." Swami Shivananda, one of the most proclaimed and famous gurus in India, led millions and millions of people to higher planes of consciousness, to living better lives, more prosperous lives, said, "The sexual energy should be transformed into divine energy for the expansion of consciousness." He says, "Brahmacharya, which includes abstinence and continence, sometimes celibacy, is the key to mental and physical strength. Waste not this vital energy in sensual pleasures, for it is the source of divine realization." And a lot of people know about Paramahansa Yogananda. Even Steve Jobs pretty much worshipped Yogananda. He said, "This is my favorite book. Everybody should read this book." His autobiography of a yogi. So Yogananda on sex said, "The more one indulges in sense pleasures, the more he becomes their slave. True bliss lies in self-control, where the mind is free to soar beyond material desires." And so there's just a hint, a taste. There's so much more that we're going to get into. But even in my life, I noticed I got addicted to this kind of stuff, this pornography, when I was 12 or 13. And for whatever reason, you're so ashamed of it. You're so scared. You don't want to get caught. I didn't know how to delete the history. I ruined the hard drive that my history was on. I threw it out. I sabotaged it because I was so nervous and afraid that my parents were going to find it. I felt so much guilt, and moving on, it was just constantly in the background of my life. I could never get away from it. Even when I got into a phase of wanting to be very hardcore Christian and having a girlfriend, I still would struggle with it. It was such a powerful force. And every single time I did it, I would try not to feel bad about it. I would try not to get down on myself or feel guilty. But there was always this sting. There was always this negative feeling. Whether it was tiredness or energy, I noticed I didn't have as much energy for the gym. I noticed I didn't feel as good about myself. I didn't want to socialize as much. And I wouldn't say I had a serious problem with it, but I just knew that it wasn't a positive influence on my life. I even fell into trying to convince myself that's good for me. You know, a lot of my friends were saying, no, it's good for you. It relieves stress. You're too stressed and angry because you haven't watched porn today. You gotta go release it. I tried to buy into that. Believe me, every man wants to believe that. Every man wants to believe that there's no consequences to it. Because then it's just such an unlimited source of pleasure. And so I tried to buy into that. I tried to believe it. I really tried, but I could never escape the fact that I always just felt weaker, less energy. I felt worse about myself. There was something intrinsic that I didn't understand, that I couldn't just mind game myself into thinking that it was good for me. I intuitively felt that it was dumping energy. And so I kept on struggling with it. It created problems in my relationship with my girlfriend. We were together for 6 years, but eventually I got so overcome by lust and temptation and wanting to fulfill these fantasies that I actually broke up with my girlfriend. I said, we can't continue. We can't go on like this. We're just not meant to be. And I wanted to go out and I wanted to explore sexually. See, a lot of men have this. A lot of men, they have this fantasy and it's being fed by the porn industry. This idea that's spreading in society. It's raging a philosophical war. There's so many different takes on the philosophy, but a lot of men are saying, you know, it's very natural, evolution. It makes you want to go out and just fuck as much as you possibly can. There's nothing wrong with it. It's natural. This is what you're made to do. And so everyone thinks that that should be the ideal. But then you have people on the other side saying, no, I'm going to be conventional. You should only be with one woman. You shouldn't misuse sex. And so they kind of have all these stigmas and rules about sex. And so I kind of saw the wisdom in both, right? But I wasn't able to balance them. I wasn't able to live according to one or the other. I was stuck in the middle. That's what society does to you. They don't make the nuanced distinctions between, well, maybe there's different people who can live like this better than others. Maybe according to your temperament, there's more people who can live in monogamy. And so even that philosophy gets criticized. Every single philosophy and stance that you can hold regarding sex and porn and sexuality can be assaulted and attacked and criticized and invalidated from all these other groups and philosophies and tribes. And so it gets so confusing. You're thinking, well, I can see the benefit of not being extremely promiscuous and getting diseases, and I can see the benefit of not having unwanted pregnancies, but at the same time, I also have these primal urges that I feel like I can't control. And so you feel like you're torn between your ego and the superego of what society is telling you what to do and what you think you should do, and then deep down what your biology is asking you to do. And so you have guys who, it runs the gamut. Guys who can't get sex and they're involuntarily celibate and virgins until they're 30 or 40. Some people go their whole life being virgins. And then you have the guys who are just getting 99% of the women out there, and they all flock to these men. And so they're the over-sexualized, they're the alpha chads, and they're the ones who are teaching all the pickup classes. And so then you have all these guys trying to learn pickup, trying to get into this new camp, trying to have more and more sex. And the porn industry is of course driving this. you look at the percentages of people who are watching porn and what this is doing to their cravings and their desires. And it gets very complicated trying to balance out your energies as a man. Especially if you have conflicting ideals. So my conflicting ideal was, I wanted to be a family guy. You know, I want to have a real relationship. I want to have a monogamous relationship. And while I was in that, even just watching porn can create tension. My girlfriend didn't like it. She felt like I was cheating on her just from watching porn. Not to even mention how it makes you want to go out and have experiences, and she can consider that cheating if that's how you set up the relationship. And so it can ruin a relationship. It can ruin a marriage if you agree to be monogamous. And so even aside from what it does to your relationship, because that's a whole nother discussion, what about what it does to your energies? So I wondered this for the longest time. Okay, I never wanted to look at this as a moral issue. I never wanted to look at it like right or wrong. I wanted to look at it as, okay, what does the science say? And so I started researching. And I researched into the yogic sciences. And I looked into the East. And I saw all these different philosophies on sex from different esoteric spiritual practices. And the science of yoga, which isn't even religious. And they all talked about a completely new philosophy that nobody in the West was talking about. And it was very compelling, and it made a lot of sense. The basic tenets of it is that for a man, the sperm is your sexual seed that takes so much energy to produce that if you're constantly dumping it out of your body, then you're forcing the factory of your body to continuously manufacture an excessive amount of the most complex and expensive biological cell that it can possibly generate. And so you're constantly dumping that, and so it puts strain on your body to have to constantly regenerate all of these cells. And so they look at the science of the complexity of tissues, and they have 7 different steps of how complex tissues are, and at the very top is the sexual seed. At the very bottom you have like blood plasma, and you have blood itself, not as hard to generate. And then you move up and you have fat tissue, muscle tissue, nerve tissue, marrow tissue, and for each step that you go up, it gets 10 times harder to produce. And this makes sense. So logically you can just see, and I started to think, okay, well, if you can keep that seed so that your body can store it up, and then your body can use these cells and use the energy that it's not taking to manufacture these cells, and it can use the energy to actually create an abundance of different cells, neurological cells, energetic cells, organ cells. It can fix your body faster, you can heal faster. It's going to make you more vital. And so I decided, let's experiment, because I saw NoFap. I saw all these movements that were saying, hey, look at all of this evidence. It seems like your brain changes when you don't watch porn. It seems like you have better focus, you have less ADHD, you have more positive emotions, because the chemical changes in your brain when you watch porn completely rewires your brain. Let alone look at the testosterone benefits of refraining from watching porn. And look at all the anecdotal evidence. Thousands of guys, hundreds of thousands of guys saying, wow, I have more energy, I have more drive, I have better self-esteem. It makes me want to go out and actually socialize with women more, rather than just stay home and isolate. And so there was evidence pretty much everywhere saying experiment, question. So I started to experiment, and I found that it works. It definitely works, but there's still nuances to it, okay? So people think that you have to go all in one direction without exception. No, there can be shades of gray. And so I started reading, and I read Swami Shivananda's book on sexual transmutation called Brahmacharya. Amazing book. We can look into some of what he says. I started reading Montauk Chia's book on how to convert sexual energy into Jing, into power. I started looking into Chinese medicine. They all have these concepts that there's this vital, very expensive, very important force inside the body called sex energy. And that you can use that sex energy in wise ways. And that according to your constitution, you have to adapt and live life differently. Not everybody can live the same sexual life, right? Just like not everybody can play the same sport, not everybody can do the same thing in terms of career, not everybody can do the same thing with their sex. And so people don't make this nuanced understanding. So I was looking at Montauk Chia stuff, and Chinese medicine talks about, according to your natural inborn ability to produce Jing, or the sexual energy, you can have more sex, or maybe you should have less sex. So you see, even just understanding that gives you this perspective of certain guys can have sex more frequently. So in Ayurveda, they have this concept based on your body type. You have Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which correlates to pretty much mesomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph, right? The skinny, the medium, and the large builds. The guy who's skinny isn't going to have as much sexual energy. He's not going to have the same ability to produce sperm. And so they recommend him, you have less sex. Maybe once a week, maybe once a month. Depends on who you are. You have to figure it out for yourself. The mesomorph, the medium build, kind of athletic figure, you can have sex more. That's Pitta. Maybe you can have sex 2 or 3 times a week. It depends on you. These are just general guidelines, but it's outlining this kind of understanding. Based on the difference in your body type, you'll be able to have sex more or less, and you should figure this out for yourself. And then the big bone structure, the person that just easily gains and produces flesh and mass, he can have the most sex because he can replenish it the fastest. And so you have to figure out who you are. And then they talk about in different seasons, your body has different capacity to regenerate sex energy. So in the winter, you have the least, so you have to have less sex. In the spring and the summer, you have the most, so you can have more. And you see that in nature. You see that in nature, animals reproduce when? In the spring. And then they hibernate and go dormant in the winter. So this is built into your biology. So it started to make a lot of sense. And it started to bring clarity to the gray areas. To where it's not just so black and white, it's not so moralistic, it's not so naive, it's not so heated and biased. And so it led me to do a lot of experimentation. There's also a lot of different kinds of foods that can increase your sexual vitality. And you look into increasing your libido, you look into conservation of your energy. All these things I started to practice. And I found that I had to personally conserve my sex energy way more than other guys. So what other people are doing and saying doesn't apply to you. Somebody might say, well, I watch porn and I squeeze one out every single day before the gym. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't mean it's true for you. Doesn't mean it's true for you. And by the way, it also doesn't mean that he couldn't have more energy if he didn't do that. So you can't judge it based on such superficial, barbaric means. So looking into the ancient scientists, the ancient sciences, and looking into these sages that perceived millions of people, billions of people over the years. This is science. They experimented with their societies, and they saw what happened when people live according to nature and according to these precedents, or when they perverted nature and lived outside of these precedents. And so we can look into a lot of rare material that will give you insights on what you can do with your sexuality, that will inform whether or not you watch porn, how much porn you watch, whether or not you have promiscuous sex, and what that does to your energies, what that does to your DNA, what that does to your emotions, how often you're going to have sex, even if you're in a committed relationship, an open relationship, doesn't matter. You should still understand how often you want to have sex based on your goals, based on your priorities. Are you trying to build something else? How much energy do you need? What are you focusing on? What season is it? What kind of body type do I have? What kind of diet am I going through? What's my stress levels? All of this impacts how much you should be able to have sex. And then there's the whole topic of, well, You can have sex if you don't spill your seed. You can actually use that as a tool. So Montauk Chia has an entire book talking about this, where he talks about Taoist sex secrets and how there's specific things that you can do while you're having sex that can help you have sex without dumping the seed. In doing so, you can have sex multiple times a day, and it will actually increase your energy. You see, they talk about the science of how when you're having sex, there's many different kinds of sex that you can have. And this isn't just talking about positions, this is talking about how you use your emotions, whether or not you spill the seed, how you and her are engaging, and how energy is transferred, and how it can charge you and increase your energy and creativity, and how you can use the sexual energy to supercharge your life and your brain and your passion in life. Different techniques of how to prevent the seed from slipping, how to prevent less of the seed from slipping, different masturbation exercises that actually improve your health, improve your organ health, improve your sexual health, improve your libido, improve your jing. See, people make it so black and white. Masturbation, good or bad? Well, what kind of masturbation? Are you spilling the seed? How are you doing it? How long are you doing it? Based on your temperament, based on your body. Are you watching porn as you do it? So there's so many different aspects to be talked about on this topic. So what we're going to do is end this video here. This was just meant to give you a bird's eye view, a large overview, because we're going to be looking into a lot of the different aspects when it comes to masturbation, porn, your own sexual energy, how to discover your own temperament, and then bringing it out into the real world. How to have safe sex. Most people actually think that they know that, but they don't really know. How to have healthy sex, the topic of the Taoist secrets of sex. And we're going to dig into a lot of different philosophies and opinions out there. We're going to be looking at a lot of the shenanigans that are happening. So this is just dipping our toe into what could be the devil's water. But if you do it right, it doesn't have to be the devil's water. If you do it right, this could be the well of healing. This could be a well of vitality. This could be the fountain of youth. It just depends on if you're approaching it in a wise way. So this impacts your health. This impacts your vitality. This impacts every aspect of your body and your mind. This is no small topic. All of the sages, all religions throughout all of humanity have always emphasized the importance of this, as you see by the wisest men of all times. This force created humanity. It's the most powerful creative force in humanity, and without it, we're nothing. But how much teaching have you gotten? How much time have you put on it? How much have you wondered about it? Have you been taught even one semester about it growing up in school? The most powerful force in humanity, have you been taught about it at all? Maybe a little bit of sex ed. But that doesn't touch on all of these topics. Sexuality is such a broad topic with such powerful impacts and influences. Remember, it shapes society, and the way that you harness it and use it determines your character. So stick with me on this series. We're going to be digging deep into many different topics regarding sexuality. And what I want you to do is make a commitment to really study yourself and your health and your vitality more. So many people are just distracted by the stock market and crypto and only focusing on other aspects of their life, not realizing that your own energy and vitality determines the quality of your life and your ability to succeed at everything. Tai Lopez talks about this. He says, what's the number one predictor of success in anything in life, let alone entrepreneurship? A lot of people say it's so many other things. Your social circle, what kind of information and education you've had, what kind of business you get into. He says, all that pales in comparison to your energy. If you have high amounts of energy, the right kind of energy, That's the number one predictor for your success in life, no matter what you're doing. So no matter what you're doing, if you don't have the right energy, how are you going to succeed? A lot of people are losing their health. They're losing their mental health. How are you going to succeed in life? Even if you're able to arrange everything on the outside perfectly and you're successful, if you don't have energy and health and mental well-being, you lose. It's all for nothing. You get zero of that pleasure because you're messed up. And so even if you win, you lose. So all of the ancients always understood you have to build into yourself this tranquility, this equanimity, this power of character, this internal vitality. And that's what we're on a mission together to do, because society is not talking about this. It's talking about everything else, and it's basically your enemy. It's basically neglecting you, lying to you, and distracting you, and sucking you dry. And we have to stop that, because we see the horrible results that it's having on people. Instead, we're teaching the truths of thousands of years to make health 101. It's the basics. To make health the basics, your vitality the basics. You get this on track, everything falls into track. This is the kingdom. You change your interiority, you change your character, you change your perceptions, you change your values, you change your stress, you change your hormones. Everything in your health transforms on its own. It has to. You give somebody some testosterone, they instantly change effortlessly. That's the power of internal change. That's what happens when you change all of these important internal values. What's going on inside your organs, inside your gut, your second brain, your nervous system, hormonal well-being. All of these topics that the West isn't talking about. They're not talking about. They're talking about very surface level things. Supplements. It's a money grab. Weird diets, weird workouts, self-ads. It's not anchored in true wisdom of your biology. It's not time tested for thousands of years. It's marketing. It's lying. It's the dark side of society now. And that's what this movement is here to change. And change we will. So thank you for being here to help you practice the 6 different pillars of health for internal change to make vitality effortless. I've organized 6 pillars. You can get a free PDF printout of the 6 pillars, and I break them down in many different categories under each pillar so that you can practice every single day, month to month to month to month. You can improve and practice like an apprentice, like a monk, like a karate student, practicing to improve each aspect of vitality in each of the 6 pillars: sleep, stress, nutrition, digestion, exercise, habits, and unconscious stressors, and detoxification. You get these things right, everything in your life aligns, and you'll feel a vitality that you never really felt. Maybe when you're a kid, maybe when you're a teenager, but even then, a lot of people are actually feeling sick. It's a sad thing, so this is what I want you to do. Like and subscribe. Keep on following this if you actually want to change your life. If you want to understand the health secrets of the timeless sages, download that PDF. Get the 6 pillars, start practicing. There's a link in that PDF if you want to be part of my free beta masterclass. I'm constantly testing and teaching different techniques. I want to see how they work. So if you're a person who's committed, who will actually implement and take action and share feedback, there might be a seat left for you in a 6-week masterclass for free coaching to implement the 6 pillars, okay? So click that if you're interested. See if there's a seat left for you. Apply in there and check out all my videos. I have a free 6-week masterclass playlist. Click it in the description. Find out for yourself for free. Start learning all this stuff for free. Implement it and see the change in your life. Make a commitment to become a new man from the inside out. These are the tips I guarantee you've never heard. These are the things that Western society is not teaching. These are the secrets that will really change your life. So make a commitment to yourself, if you really want change, to learn these things, to invest in the most important aspect of yourself, your energy. Change yourself. Don't just only focus on the outside. Sure, always seek success. You're never not going to seek success. But seek inner transformation. Seek inner vitality in the inner well-being. And you'll find that your quest for success will be added to you just by mastering these aspects. So that's why we call it the health hacker revolution. We're breaking out of the matrix. All of the lies, all the convictions, all the beliefs that society wants to feed us and that's sucking us dry. We're breaking out of that matrix. It's the dark side of society. We're breaking free. And we're going to see a new uprising of a different class of men, a different class of society. Empowered, vital, creative, industrious, committed to creating a better society. That's what we need. For even just yourself, for even just your family, for even just your friends. But you'll see, you focus on these things, we're going to create a new society. That's what we stand for. So thank you for having the discernment to actually see through the matrix, to committing to yourself and following this new path that Americans need. We're in this together. Together, we can make a difference. Together, our votes count. Together, our lives make a big difference. Together, we're going to see something great happen. So thanks for being with me. I'll see you in the next video.